Hey, Dan here, the Bitcoin Universalist. Back like 10 years ago, I used to do something called The Angry Moderate on public access TV. Oh my gosh. Dan here, Angry Moderate. But interestingly, when I look back, if I look back at those videos, a lot of what I was saying, there was a lot of truth in there with regard to the banking system and the duplicity of the banking system and everybody being in bed with everybody else and the House of Representatives voting to essentially give the banks and the rating agencies the ability to not mark assets to their value, but to mark them, not to mark them to the marketplace, but to mark them to like whatever they want to as a way to artificially prop up this financial system. And then, of course, things righted themselves, right, because of, Fed policy and the Treasury getting a hold of $750 billion and TARP and all that stuff, and banks being recapitalized. And when I say righted, I mean the economy didn't collapse. And those of us, for me anyway, who had been in this camp of decrying the imminent collapse of the system were kind of like, oh, system didn't collapse. But time frames, the more I have investigated Bitcoin, and time frames are an interesting construct because I may have been right, I just may have been early. Anyway, I didn't come to talk about that. And I didn't come to talk about the fact that I'm almost 60 years old and my shoulder hurts and I walk 6 or 7 miles a day to keep the blood flowing, and then I come back and it's like aches and pains and oh my God. Wow, Montshire Pediatrics is calling me. Why would they be calling me? Hello? Oh, hello? That's my kids. My kids are grown up, and that's their pediatrician. So anyway, you're getting everything today. I didn't come to talk about that, and I didn't come to talk about my kid's old pediatrician. I came to talk about the nation state and how we identify ourselves by our nations, our national origins, and it's just a disaster. Everything that you read, all of the catastrophes wrought on humankind by each other are derived from the nation state and the supremacy of the nation state and the worship of the nation state and our frailty with regard to being able to be propagandized by the nation state to support the nation state. I'm not talking, it doesn't matter what nation, it doesn't matter. We have somehow bought into this narrative of patriotism and nationalism over centuries, and it's always to our detriment, or to somebody else's detriment. I mean, my gosh, all of the conflict that we see around the world, regardless of fiat currency and irredeemable currency and floating currencies, and like all of the conflict we see around the world comes from conquest of nations of other nations or internal strife based upon different national ideology. It's unbelievable. And yet we still buy into that. We see it, we understand it, and yet we still go down that path. Every news story right now is about Russia and Ukraine. Russia's wrong, Russia's right, Ukraine is wrong, Ukraine is right. And we can't extricate ourselves. Bitcoin provides the paradigm shift that allows us to extricate ourselves from nationalism and from identifying with national ideology, with identifying with nations, because it's borderless, because it's self-sovereign, because there are no intermediaries. I don't need permission, because it is inviolable and can't be hacked or manipulated by government. And governments hate this. Governments are scared of this. Governments don't like the idea that human beings are beginning to identify themselves as extra-national. Like, it may be started in some ways with the internet and communities on the internet and social media to a certain extent. But because Bitcoin is sort of this base layer, this base transactional layer, you know, the internet of value, the internet of money, however you want to put it, governments are looking and saying, oh no, not only does this undermine our ability to control money and then essentially control our system, the people, but it also gives people an alternative way to exist. I can exist in a small community in rural Maine and transact using the Lightning Network, using Bitcoin in a small circular economy, and have no need for this big umbrella of nation state. And over time, and I think it's going to take generations, I mean, I think we're talking triple-digit years, this is going to become the new normal. The new normal is going to be a move away from the nation state, and not toward feudal systems like we've seen in the past, but toward a Bitcoinized system. I'm hopeful, because what has nationalism brought us? Crap. Okay, that's all I got. I guess the pediatrician didn't need me. And yeah, I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.